Hey everybody, Captain CA here, and welcome back to the FlatsClass YouTube channel. Today, doing a little underbrush cleanup on the back of the property here, and it's hot. It's early summer. Every day now is consistently 90 degrees, and I'm walking around with my Yeti jug here, trying to get a gallon of water in a day because, believe it or not, my doctor tells me I don't drink enough water. I feel like I do, but obviously I don't because I'm outside every day. Anyhow, it is early summer, and I thought what a cool video to do is to talk to you guys. Lately it's been mostly tarpon, but many of you have reached out and said, what about snook? So we're going to go through my 5 top summer snook lures. I said summer, not all-time snook lures, just summer. Let's go over here and check them out real quick, see what you think. Okay, it's tough to pick 5 favorite lures. Doesn't matter what the season is because there's so many possibilities, and the conditions typically dictate what you have to use. But in this case, I feel compelled to choose 5, and this is the window from mid to late May all the way I'm going to say into late August. For you snook anglers, you guys will be targeting anything from dock lights at night to beaches in the morning, flats early in the morning, pothole fishing. Try to think of all the little scenarios that really happen. Some of you will go off and fish some deeper water, some artificial reef fishing for snook, bridges, just kind of a medley of scenarios that made me choose the 5. And I had to leave some pretty good lures off the list, but those same lures will probably make my winter list. So summer list, number 5 is a tie. So it's actually 6. I like to use these little Z-Man slim swims, okay? These are 3-inch slim swims that you can pick up, and I use them on some of the smaller heads. Sometimes I even rig them in tandem, but I love burning them through residential dock lights at night. Boy, do these little suckers catch snook. Now, do you catch the big snook? Not so much, but you do catch numbers of snook. So if you're looking for a lure that you can cast into the darkness, run through the light ring quickly, and want to get some action, I would definitely recommend the Z-Man Slim Swims 3-inch. I'm putting that mostly on a 1/10 of an ounce jig head, but you could put it on a 1/6 and get a little bit more depth. These are the more heavy duty mushroom jig heads, the pro shrooms. Check them out. Opening night, by far my favorite color, but you could use Green Lantern and a few of the other ones that would work really well. The other nighttime bait, honestly, is a big giant bucktail. Now that might be a flare tail hawk for some of you, a first light jig, or maybe one of these Spro jigs, but a big heavy bucktail in that ounce and a half, 2-ounce size range will get you those bites, and those nighttime bites in those deeper passes. Just the ability to keep them in contact with the bottom without losing them. That's another challenge, but that's a whole another YouTube video. But by utilizing these types of baits for nighttime fishing, especially the glow style, when I'm fishing these, or the brighter colors, you'll see a lot of these that are like bright greens and purples and things like that. It's not that there's anything that swims that looks like that. It's just they can see it. I mean, it's nighttime. You're fishing a pass that's got maybe 15, maybe 30 feet of water. I don't know. But if you're fishing current, use those heavy bucktails. But that tie at number 5 is definitely where I was headed. Now, number 4, well, I'll show you that one next. All right, number 4. Number 4 is really a standard bait for a lot of anglers and would make the starting lineup, in fact, most of the year. But in particular in the summer, when you've got aggressive fish, you've got full-size bait fish around all over the place. So whether you're fishing the points of some islands that have lots of current flow, if you're fishing in between docks, over shallow flats that have good sheet flow that's near passes and things like that, it's going to be hard to beat a topwater plug. Now this one is in the skin series. This is the Mirror Mullet. Well, it's not really called the Mirror Mullet. It's our C85MR. It's the CS85MR. It's a 3/4 ounce plug, so it allows for a really long cast. When Eric and the guys came up with this plug, I was really happy to see it. The mullet look-alike, it was going to be very appealing to everyone along the Atlantic seaboard, but it's worked really well here, especially here in my hometown of Crystal River here in Citrus County. This has been a top-notch bait for snook all through the spring and moving into summer. So if you're looking for a topwater that you can get a lot of confidence in, this looks like the real deal, and it gets real deal results, I promise you that. Now number 3, I'm going to keep you guessing. So number 3, because a lot of you snook enthusiasts that want to catch your PB are fishing deeper, faster water, because that's where the hogs live. Come on, that's where you're going to find them. Once we get to that time of year in the summer, I'm going to say, you got to use some responsibility on the side of conservation, because it is the spawning time for these snook. But for those that want to get their personal best, they're going to be fishing those passes and inlets and deeper waterways and basins that have some flow, even some nearshore structure, artificial reefs, things like that, where there's aggregations of big female snook that are going to be in that 35 to 45 inch size window. To catch those fish, you got to have a bait that stays down, can swim in that type of current naturally, and you can achieve some depth. Now for me, that bait has been the Z-Man Hercules. Now these are the 5 and 6 inch size. This is a 6 inch size and bad shad, but these Hercules swim baits have been absolutely crazy good at bridges for me, fishing fenders where big snook are going to be in these flows looking to strike bait fish that are coming through. So if that type of fishing really appeals to you, you have the type of boat, you can be out there for that style of fishing, really consider this. It's an integrated weight system. It's got a 7/0 hook in it. It's for lack of a better description, this is just one badass bait. I have not found one for me that is as good as this. I use it for inshore grouper fishing. I use it for even throwing to tarpon. It's just one of those baits that catch everything, but I have gotten a ton of confidence in this bait. There's a number of sizes. I heard they're even going to come out with a 3-inch size that's going to be launched this summer at ICAST. I use the 4-inch Herc swim bait a ton through the late winter, early spring, especially if we have warm-ups. But when it comes to summertime, I'm only throwing 5 or 6-inch Hercules swim baits. Now, what's going to be number 2 on the list? That's next. So number 2 on the list, I'm going to give you a history lesson first. Growing up, I grew up in West Central Florida, and we fished a lot of passes, a lot of beaches, flats, and a ton of piers and bridges. Well, on those piers and bridges, we used to have, especially on the bridges, we used to have catwalks, and a lot of the guys that I looked up to as a youngster that was fishing used to hang lanterns down just off the surface to cast their own light. That's what snook fishermen did. They all had these double ballast lanterns, and they would lower them down on a line and they'd wrap them around the catwalk baluster there, or the pier. And then the guys would fish either with a Calcutta pole swimming, which is a giant cane pole, swimming a live bait around in figure eights under that light, or they would just drop on some heavier, gear like Penn Senators back in that day, and they would just hold a pinfish down there around that light. Well, there was always minnows and things in that light that were zipping back and forth in the light. You see that when you docklight fish. But there were always needlefish around, and those needlefish would drive the snook crazy because they were eating all those minnows. That really is what the snook was after, was those little small little anchovy size and glass minnows. And the needlefish became an enemy of the snook, and many times we would see these big long needlefish, didn't matter what size it was, get absolutely smoked. I mean smoked by big snook. So as time went on, I was always looking for like the old slammers and sluggos back in the day that were, a little small, to be able to throw over flats and things like that, and mangrove edges where I knew snook would congregate in the late spring, early summer, to catch them. And when Z-Man came out with this one, this is the Z-Man Darters. It's a 6-inch bait, and there's a number of ways you can Texas rig it, you can jig head rig it. Sometimes I put heavier jig heads on it to fish deeper zones, but probably one of my favorite ways is to use a snake locks system that's a swivel head with a Texas style wide gap hook, typically something in the 3/0, maybe 4/0 range, just depends on the size of the fish you're chasing. But 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce is what I use most of the time. And this bait has such a crazy action. So instead of throwing a jerk shad, sometimes I'll throw this bait instead, because the Z-Man Darters, I'll show you the packaging right here, is one of those baits that once you start gaining some confidence in it, you're going to find a lot of uses for it. It's going to be a good cobia bait for you. It's going to be a good big trout bait for you if you Texas rig it with no weight on it at all. But you're going to find, if you're throwing this around outside mangrove barrier islands, on some points, on some rocky points and stuff like that, and you work it erratically across that stuff, the Z-Man Darters will be your summertime number 2 as well. Now for number 1. So the way I'm going to start off with number 1 is I want you to take a look at this picture right here. This was Blondie and one of her best girlfriends, Julie, who fished with me in the Florida Cracker women's tournament last year. And those two will tell you that when we fish that tournament, which is coming up this Saturday, I only let them throw one thing, and that's a big swim bait that you can cast a long way and reel quickly through the water. Now you're saying, well, aren't you going to have them throw the Hercules swim bait? Here's the problem with that. The Hercules swim bait is a little heavier than I'd like, and it's not quite as buoyant as this bait, which is the 5-inch diesel minnows, especially in this color, which is pearl blue glimmer, maybe the best color that Z-Man's ever made for a snook color. I love that color. It does a fantastic job. I like putting it on a redfish eye, probably around 3/8. It's just the perfect weight, so it's not a 1/2 ounce where it overweights a rod, because I've got the girls typically throwing, in this particular scenario, 7.5 foot medium heavy rods, and when you weigh all this together, you're over a 1/2 ounce for sure. But they can project long casts, and so can you. And you can roll this, and it'll stay about a foot under the surface the whole way back. And you're rolling at a pretty good clip. There's no pulsing or anything. You're just rolling it. It's just swimming. But this profile, with the rock and roll that it has, and that big thumping tail, when you make these snook that are set up on rock points or a jetty line or anything like that, a point off an island that's got current ripping around it, or a swash channel, you will make them make a bad decision because they're going to eat this. So when I'm fishing for the fish that I want to catch, the alpha snook, and I know he's going to be in less than 6 feet of water, I'm throwing this sucker right here. The 5-inch diesel minnow from Z-Man. Absolutely the #1 snook bait that I use this time of year in the summer. I will do another one of these videos for fall and winter, but had enough questions about this because we've been pumping out so much tarpon info. There are still many of you that want to catch snook and don't have access to the tarpon. So nice to be able to put this together. Yes, I'm going to say it before a lot of you do. All these brands that I talked about today have an affiliation. I have a professional relationship with them. But you can take any of this information and extrapolate it with whatever brand bait that you're loyal to. So don't think you can't. Also, if you have not subscribed to this channel, reach over here and push that button. I want you to be a fan, a student in this virtual classroom every week. We pump out 4, 5, 6 videos a week. And once we get to a certain number, which is going to probably be 50,000 subs, then we're going to take this thing to a whole nother level. Lots of travel fishing, stuff like that. So, if you haven't subbed, sub now. And give us that like, share this. We want to hear back from you. And let us know what you think in the comments below about some of these baits. Are they working for you? All right, till next time, I'm going to start working on another YouTube video for all of you.